Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. Hey, 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 this is your girl, Sister Naira, your transformational life coach, speaker, retreat leader, and that's right, best-selling author. I am here once again live in the person with Heal on Purpose broadcast, hosted and produced by the Repair of the Black Family. I am truly, truly excited to be with you all tonight. I know, come on now, let me just hold on. Let me slow down a little bit. I know I have been missing in action for a week, but you all know that we take these retreats to go and help people to be able to get empowered to do exactly what we do and what we specialize in, eradicating generational trauma, drama, limiting beliefs, and self-sabotaging behavior patterns. And so I was off in Sedona handling business, but I am right back with you tonight. And I am so excited because we have a special guest that's going to definitely enlighten us and help us to do what our aim and purpose is, and that is to heal on purpose. My guest tonight is a phenomenal coach. Her name is Michelle Passoff. She is a world-renowned author, speaker, and coach. She's the author of Lighten Up. The Lighten Up, Free Yourself From Clutter. Now, listen, we closing out 2022 with clearing up clutter, okay? She leads in roundtables discussions. She was previously a publicist in New York City. She has been a consultant and a seminar leader throughout the US, Australia, and the UK. And she's an owner of the estate sale company, Tampa Bay, for more than 14 years. Her husband, y'all know how I feel about the husband and wives, right? Her husband, Andre, and I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, I'll let her do it. However, he is a survivor of the Holocaust. And so tonight, I'm here and delighted to present to you my dear sister, and to make sure that I got you on, Michelle. All right. Make sure that you take notes. Make sure that you go share this, right? Make sure you got your coffee, your tea, and let's tune in and tap into Michelle. Welcome, Michelle.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. I am so excited to have you here tonight. You know, as I think about all that you have done, and, you know, as I got your beautiful book here, and just knowing how, how needed and wanted this subject title is, I'm happy for myself, and I'm happy for my listening audience to gain benefit from what you bring to the table tonight. And so
I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
yes, ma'am. So, Michelle, I introduced you by paper, but let's go ahead and tell the audience, how do you show up in the world?
How do I show up?
Yes.
That's a loaded question. You should have warned me about that. And I guess in many ways to many people, but I like to think that I show up with a big heart and with my attention on others and their possibility, and how I can contribute to opening space for people to see who they are, be who they are, express who they are, and do that with a skip in their heart.
Yes, such a powerful thing, to help others to be able to do what we love to do, and that is to heal on purpose. So thank you, Michelle, for showing up. Now, when I introduced your husband, I did pronounce his name incorrectly. So if you can, please help me with that.
I hope I can pronounce his name correctly. I kept my name for that reason. His last name is Kupfermunz, Andre Kupfermunz, Kupfermunz. And we've not only worked together for over 14 years, but he is in addition to the work we do in the clutter area, we are artists together. So he sculpts, we paint together, I do photography. So we have many different roads we travel together.
Wow. That's amazing to be able to have your husband as your husband, and then have him as a business partner, but also be able to have something that you both bring to the table that's unique, having so many different fields of endeavors that you, like you say, you've traveled together. So, and I don't necessarily just mean that traveling in a physical way, is traveling spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and of course physically. Is what a powerful, what we say, power couple, right?
It's fun. It's fun.
Yes. So Michelle, let's tell the audience a little bit about who you are, as far as you are a clutter coach, and you have
Yes.
done some publicists. Like, tell me a little bit how, before you got to actually become a clutter coach, tell us a little bit about what led you up to this.
This. I come from the generation of women that were probably the first out of college to have the kind of choices that we have today, where you can be a mom, you could be a professional, you could be a wife, you could be a contribution in society. That you can play more than one role, not just mom
Mm,
and a wife. So I had no model for that. So I started doing a lot of personal transformation work. And after 15 years of looking at who am I as a woman, who am I as a person, who am I as a business person, who do I want to be in relationship, I said, after 15 years of looking at myself, I should come to a conclusion.
hmm
And oddly, the conclusion was so elementary that you think that can't possibly have took you that long to come to. But my conclusion was get rid of your stuff,
mm,
emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally. It's just easier to get your hands on your physical stuff. You can't get your hands on your emotion or your spirit or your mind. You can get your hands on your stuff. And my theory was that if you you align the stuff around you with who you are and what you're up to, that it would have a transformational effect. And I started working with people. I actually helped first. I helped two friends of mine. I was living in Manhattan at the time, and after I did a session with each one of them, I started hanging signs on bus stops up and down Broadway in New York City, advertising "Lighten Up for Yourself From Clutter." And that was the start of my illustrious career as a clutter consultant. all
wow.
all kinds of people living in New York City have small spaces and big interests. And unlike what many people think, that if you have clutter, there's something wrong with you. In fact, there was everything right with these people. They had, big interests but small spaces. So I started working with lawyers and writers and doctors and finance people and moms and people of all ages on freeing themselves from clutter in the clutter capital of the world, which is New York City. And
Wow.
one thing leading to another, I decided to write a book, and I traveled around the world teaching and consulting all over the place. And I've been in more attics and garages than anyone would want to in their lifetime.
And we're gonna definitely get into that, and I know you say you coming for me, and I'm a little worried, but I'm ready for you. So Michelle, you said something very powerful. You said you had to find yourself, growing up around so many powerful women, and but you had to find your own path. And what I find the most as a transformational life coach, that you know, women in particular, we get lost in so many other people, ideas, concepts, and being mom, being wife, being, your mother's daughter, your sister's sister, or whatever it is, that most times we don't know how to find ourselves. And there's a lot of clutter when it comes to the mental and emotional aspects of not knowing who you are, right?
Yeah.
And having to learn how to redefine yourself to be your own person. How does that relate to the journey that you had to go through, but now you've found the light on that? Like, what would you share? How can you share that with my audience, especially with women, where we have to redefine ourselves because we get lost in so many roles.
Well, I would say surrender to the notion that it takes work. I
Mm,
worked hard. I worked hard, and I stayed committed to that. And it took years of engagement with myself in all kinds of workshops, not to become a follower of any one religion or philosophy or methodology, but to learn and incorporate that which I wanted to use as an ingredient of who I am in order to be who I am.
Mhm.
And like I always say, it takes a whole life to live a life. So
Mm.
I had to stay strong, that if I stayed committed to the commitment that I was to know and express myself, that I would arrive in a place where I could look back on my life and say it was a life well lived. So
Mhm.
I didn't have a lot of agreement in my family for that. The expectation in my family was that I get married to a man who would take care of me and have children and live 20 minutes from my mother. And that, go to college if you want, have a professional career if you want. But the most important thing was to, lead a life that my own mother was familiar with and the past generations were familiar with and what society dictated at the time, and to kind of be a revolutionary in the face of that with no agreement for it took a lot of pain on my part and a lot of
Mhm.
commitment at the same time and a lot of work. So to
Mhm.
think that things are handed to you on a silver platter is not necessarily true. It could be, but in my case, it wasn't. I had to earn it. And at the end of the day, when I look back at um, the life that I have, I'm really proud of myself.
Absolutely. And that's very key. It takes pain, but it takes commitment, right? When you're talking about transformation and total transformation to get the end result of redefining yourself. And I can see that people are already jumping in. Family, if you have questions, please put it in. We have an expert tonight on clutter. I'm just warming it up. We're just getting warmed up, right? So,
Yes, but the
um,
party started.
right, let's get the party started. So, I do have some questions, but I definitely want to adhere to the audience. And the one of the first question that I'm looking at here is clutter hoarding?
No, I would say no to that. Most of in I've been doing this since 1991. So do the math on that one. It's been a long time. And I would say if I've had two hoarders in my entire career, that would be a lot. Most of the time, hoarders are not people who want to make a change. And
Mm,
the people who I consult or who come to my seminars are people who are ready to make a change. And if you're not ready to make a change, I encourage people to go to the beach. Don't. It's not right to have no clutter, and it's not wrong to have clutter. It's a choice of lifestyle that's free from constraint. And
mm,
I think that, and with open energy, because I do think stuff carries energy. So it's open.
mm.
So
Wow,
I do not think that hoarders and clutter people with clutter are the same.
right. So that's key, and definitely want to highlight that stuff carries energy.
Yes.
And so let's just mock up an ideal a scene here. Here it is. You consulting me, and I have things where it may be clean on the outside, but I'm stuffing stuff, right? I'm stuffing it in my drawers, right? And I'm stuffing things. Dealing with something like that. How would you approach a client that may not even realize that, okay, they're carrying clutter that's attached to some emotional energy?
I would say they wouldn't be the client if they didn't know there was something there that they
Okay.
wanted to free themselves from. So I would call that the sweeping it under the carpet syndrome. And what we want to bring out with the clutter is bring that clutter into the light of day instead of stuffing it, because it's kind of symbolic. You're stuffing it,
Mm-hmm.
instead of stuffing it, to bring it out on the table, put it out on the table to be examined and to choose deliberately whether it applies or doesn't apply to the life you want to be living. So the very first question I always ask people before they start cleaning clutter is, what are you making room for? And
Mm,
that doesn't mean, I'm looking to clean off my dining room table so I can invite a guest for dinner. That would be a clutter goal. It wouldn't be the answer to the question, what are you making room for? Making room for is more of a life goal than a clutter goal. Once you decide what you're making room for, then you would choose a clutter goal that you would go to work on, and then begin to notice the relationship between what starts happening in your life, what opens up, what kind of energy and momentum gets behind the what you're making room for goal by working on the clutter goal. And some of the results may be surprising, that, like, for example, cleaning out your clothes closet leads to getting the relationship you always wanted, or cleaning up all your paperwork leads to the job that you want. So when you begin to have a taste for, like a fine wine, the relationship between what's happening in your life and cleaning the clutter, then you'll be actually looking for clutter that you can clean in order to get the results that you want.
Wow. Wait a minute. Hold on, Michelle. This for my audience. I hope y'all heard that. And I want you to take a note on that. Okay. And I'm going to ask somebody to put that in the chat. And again, if you have any questions, we definitely want you to open up and ask the questions. You say you got to have a taste for, like, fine wine.
Yeah.
To declutter.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. He gets up in the morning and goes, hip, hip, hooray. I want to get under my kitchen sink. Yay.
Right.
No,
right.
Not
Right.
really. But if you go hip, hip, hooray, I'm committed to getting that degree, or I'm committed to being accepted for that job, or I want to get pregnant, or I want to get the relationship, or I want to heal something, then you suspend disbelief that there's a relationship and watch and see what happens. So it becomes more of an intrigue than something that repels you.
Wow. So thank you. That's powerful. So Michelle, we specialize in eradicating generational trauma, right?
Yes.
Dramas and limiting beliefs. And I think you kind of hit on it, but how is clutter, or can that be attached to a generational trauma? And can that mindset or that behavior pattern be transferred down throughout the family line?
Oh, without question. If you have a goal to heal something in your life, what you're making room for is to heal. Suspend disbelief as you clean your clutter that it doesn't have a relationship to that, and look at that like an expedition and a possibility, and see what happens. It becomes really interesting. I know for myself, cleaning that clutter of confusion about who I was and what I wanted and how I was going to be distinct from just being born into the way that it is with no exploration or choice in the matter. That was something that really I did not have physical clutter. I had plenty of non-physical clutter, and clearing that up has made me distinct from my past. So I think that people can become distinct from their past.
All right, y'all heard it. People can become distinct from their past. So let's unpack that. When you say you had other clutter, because when we think of clutter, most times we think of the physical clutter. What does emotional clutter look like, or mental clutter look like, that it is relating to my physical, and how do I penetrate it to unravel that?
Well, ask yourself the question, where am I confused, for example?
Woo! Wait a minute. Hold that thought. I hope y'all heard that. Ask yourself the question, where am I confused? That's pivotal and is key in our conversation, Michelle. And let me tell you why. I want you to continue.
Okay.
One of the things I ask my clients is, or I say to my clients, is you have to begin to ask yourself powerful questions. We don't know how to ask ourselves powerful questions. We know how to tell ourselves things that, condemn us or criticize us, but to ask yourself a powerful question, that's a powerful question. Where am I confused at? Oh, continue on.
Well, another question you could ask yourself is, where have I been hurt? Where am I angry? Where am I denying something? Where am I afraid? What am I afraid to approach? And then begin to peel off the blinder on what that might be, and aim to resolve that for yourself.
So how do you through decluttering, how do you get a person to look? Okay, we can ask the questions, right? But how do we get the person to look through decluttering?
The what to look?
How do you get them to look for the answer? Like, where am I
Oh,
confused? How does that relate to the clutter, or where I've been hurt at, or you understand what I'm saying? How do we get them
you
to look for?
suspend your disbelief that there's not a connection and watch and see what happens when you clean clutter. For example, you might be cleaning your closet and have an intention to heal a relationship with somebody in your family from the past. And you're cleaning your clutter and you get kind of your house in order, you get yourself aligned with your environment, and boom, that person calls you or something like that. I can't tell you what
I
miracles
see.
people will get out of it, but I say suspend disbelief that there is a connection and watch and see what happens. And actually, instead of me telling you what you can expect, give me feedback and tell me what happens, because inevitably I show up at somebody's door and say, what happened between now and the last time we did a private consultation together? And people will say, oh, nothing. And then in the course of working with them, I find out that um, they decided to run for political office, something that they hadn't been able to do in a dozen years. So they don't realize that there was a connection.
Interesting.
So just suspend disbelief, um, play the game, and see what happens. Bring curiosity to your clutter, not fear or.
Ooh, wait. Michelle, you just dropped an atom bomb. You say bring curiosity to what? Cleaning up your clutter.
Your
Okay.
garage will never look so good.
Okay. Look, that's a new one. Okay, family. I hope y'all listening to this. If you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat. So I heard you say something, Michelle. Are you saying that you approach your clutter with intention to heal or manifest whatever it is that you're striving to do? So you're not just going in and cleaning up like, okay, let me go in and clean up my house. There's a difference. Am I hearing you correctly?
Well, yes and no. I'm not saying that if you read my book, Lighten Up, Free Yourself From Clutter, that you won't find very practical advice on what to do, how to approach cleaning a closet, or how to approach cleaning a garage, or how to clean up that pile of papers. I'm not saying it's not very practical. It is. I'm just saying it's no longer within a context of being neat and tidy. I'm saying remove it from being neat and tidy, and you will get neat and tidy. I'm saying suspend disbelief that the impact of your life will be far greater if you have your focus on an outcome that you want to come into that empty space. You will learn the skills when you're cleaning clutter to become neat and tidy, but you'll also develop, like I said, a taste for the impact that it has on your life.
Wow.
It's like how many times do you have, like, maybe you have like a pile of stuff that in the coming and going in and out of your house right at your entryway. And if you think of the symbolic of it's clouding what the free flow of energy and ideas and movement and possibility, there's a certain blockage.
Yeah.
And if you remove that, you liberate the space, and you will exercise the ability to be able to decline something that comes into that space that you don't want, or to allow something that comes into that space that you do want.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful. So when you approach your clients, like what how do one just find you? Like, how do they come to you? Do they come because it's like need of change, or like some of the peaking interest that will have like a person like me that will hire a declutter coach? Yes, I need to declutter, but how does one get to that space?
Sometimes it's hard to say, to tell you the truth. Any number of things. Readiness.
Mm,
I'm now working on a project called Decluttering 55 Plus.
yes.
And before the age of 55, I mean, that's a random number, but
Right.
it's one that speaks. Kind of in your earlier years, I tell people, if you're not ready, don't do something else. So
Mhm.
readiness for what it is. Like, I think, what brings people to clean clutter is there's an eagerness for
Mhm.
there's a craving for something that they really want in their life. And if they hear out of the corner of their eyes, some ears somehow, that this might be an avenue for that, then they'll try it. So readiness. Now, after the age of 55, I say it's ready or not.
Mm.
Ready or not, you're entering a last chapter of your life, and it's not one that I say is over the hill. It's one that is can be invigorating. So cleaning the clutter is an invigorating exercise at any age, but especially after 55 when people think they're going downhill. You're not going downhill, and I want to teach people how that last chapter is invigorating. It should be creative. It should be it's not only physical clutter, it could be in your health and your finances, in your circumstances, and in your future so that you create a legacy and not a mess.
Ooh,
So,
say that. Wait, say that one more time. You create what? A
a
legacy
legacy and not
and
a
not
mess.
a
What I
mess.
mean by that, whether you have children or you don't have children, your actions and your life on this planet makes a difference. And I think you really have to get that you matter. Somebody has to get as that you're not insignificant, no matter whether you're, a leader of the world or you're, working in a grocery store. Everybody, every human makes a difference. And your choices and who you develop yourself to be will have a ripple effect through the family and friends right around you, but on the canvas of being human. So, what is it that you want to contribute to being human, and make yourself the best version of yourself in order to do that? And I think getting rid of all that weight, so to
Yes,
speak, on you the baggage that you don't need, and blossoming is a way in which you can make the impact that makes a difference.
absolutely. So cleaning up clutter is like a rebirth. That's what I'm hearing for those of us, those who may be 55 plus, like you going into rebirth mode. And so, Michelle, one of the things that as a coach I found, or I work with a lot, people that's under 55, but those that are over 55, they don't know their purpose in life, right? They have yet to discover purpose. And so as I hear you speak on the significance of decluttering, but you can actually find purpose, find, or discover or rediscover, another level of purpose in life. Have you found, or have you have any success stories with that?
I'm not prepared to think on that for a minute, but I can say for myself, I would say purpose is something that you can uncover. You can both uncover and you can claim. When I said, what are you making room for? You'd say, I discovered in my own transformation that who I wanted to be was to make a contribution, and who I wanted to be was somebody who stood for communication. And that's the only reason I would ever bother to even write a book, or and worse yet, a second book. It's not
Right.
easy,
Right.
not to necessarily take the easy road. You know, the only reason I would do it because I was very powerfully committed to making a contribution. Before I did any transformational work, if somebody said, what do you want to? Who? What difference do you want to make? What would living in a world that works look like for you?
Mm-hmm.
It was all about me. Like, if I could go on a really nice vacation twice a year, and I could shop in the stores that I wanted to go to, or, if I could have X number of dollars or the man of my dreams, that's living in a world that works. Once I uncovered who I really am, it was really all about, well, do the homeless have a shelter? Do the, you know, is there access for the handicapped? Do people who want to get an education need a scholarship, and how do you fund that? To really look where you want to be charitable in every sense of the word, either with money or with your time or with your heart, to make a difference. So you can shift from a self-centered person to somebody who's thinking more in the outer reaches of possibility.
Absolutely. And that's a beautiful and powerful concept to make a shift. in working with women, you said shifting from self-centered to making a powerful contribution. One of the things that I found with working with women is a lot of women, and I've found myself in these predicaments as well. We give so much out to everyone else that it's kind of hard to bring that time in to make for self, or feeling like if I make time for myself or put myself as the priority, now that's a little selfishness. Does that make sense?
Yes, and if you go on to if anybody who's ever flown in an airplane knows, you may have heard this analogy before, but they will always tell you to give yourself oxygen first before you take care of the child sitting next to you. So in order to, you can't deplete yourself in making a contribution. That's not a contribution. That's sacrifice.
Come on. That's right. That's right. So let me ask you this. Is there a significance with clutter that could be tied into that?
To making a difference?
No, to sacrificing, not putting yourself first, or I'm just trying to see, is there any emotional attachment?
It's only going to give you the space to even, it grounds you. So it's going to make you more powerful. I mean, your power doesn't come from stuff. Your power doesn't come from, owning a lot. Your power comes from the values and strengths that you have and nurture. I don't think from stuff. Now, stuff, I'm not anti-stuff.
Right.
Stuff used as a tool, not as a need to show your importance. It's not to show off something. It's it might beautify something. I'm not against beautification with clutter, with physical stuff, but you don't want to be crippled by your stuff. That's all.
That's right.
I'm not saying don't have stuff. I'm not a minimalist even.
Right.
But you don't need to. There's stuff you do. It's up for re-examination. You got this far with this much stuff, and you want to be this way in the future, and do what you have and what you need and what you want for going forward. Is that a match for what's around you? And upon reconsideration, that size 2 dress that you don't fit into anymore, or that size, that style isn't something that flatters you anymore, then don't hold on to it.
Absolutely. So it's the power.
Today I had a meeting with somebody, and I needed to find a piece of paper that explained a whole bunch of research that I did so that he could do his job. And I didn't expect that in the meeting. But I said, hold on a minute. I have a bullet point list of points that I had from a previous conversation with somebody else. I could go to my file in 30 seconds, pick it out of my file, and give it to this colleague. Do you know what I mean? I could get my hands on what I needed, when I needed it, within seconds, in order to produce the results that I want. And there's a lot of freedom and being able to access so that you can keep moving in the direction you want to be headed without any obstructions. It's just more freeing.
Absolutely. I got it.
It's not like you're wrong if you don't, or you're right. But if you want the most little underused and little known power tool, clean your clutter.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the power of letting go, right? And you said something very key, re-examination. It's up for reconsideration. And I see that spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and ultimately physically. And what would you say to a person, or is there, what would you say to a person that say, well, you know what, I'm organized. Everything is organized. Is that a difference when it comes to organization and decluttering?
That's a very good question. Just because you're organized doesn't mean you're free from clutter. I can recall very vividly that I worked with this client, and she had this closet that couldn't have been more perfectly folded stacks of sweaters. There was beautiful color coded stacks of sweaters. the problem there was that 60% of them she didn't wear. So even though they were organized beautifully, like whoever folds it like that woman, I don't know, but she didn't need 60% of them. So you can have very organized clutter for sure.
Very wait. Michelle, you say you can have very organized clutter. You know,
Yes.
so it's like, you know, I have garments, right? I have garments that I've had for over 20 years, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna put that here. I may, if I don't wear it, I'm gonna save it for my granddaughter. You know, you
Oh
always
yeah,
got
right.
that I'm gonna save it for somebody. I still got my daughter's wedding dress hanging up in the closet. You know, I have things hanging up that, you know, it's like I'm gonna save that, or I'm gonna pass it down to so and so. Would that be clutter? You know, it's like,
I don't object to people having storage in their lives. If you have the space and you have something you want to save for something later, like if somebody has a baby and they're planning on another one and they want to keep some of the clothes, or they want to keep some in a hope chest or a treasure chest, if there's the space and you have the storage, I don't mind if it's as long as it's not throwing it into storage to be out of sight, out of mind, that it's organized, labeled, and easily accessible in storage. But to do it blindly, or to think you have to save everything just in case everything, you're going to be a mess. So it's not worth it. Sell it, donate it, contribute it, but don't keep it. If you don't have the space for it, you have to live according to the space you actually have. And if there's no space for it, then you have to reconsider that lifestyle. You can't save everything for everybody for all time, because there's only one result. I saw some kind of show on YouTube or Netflix about a big TV executive's wife who had 17,000 square feet of Christmas decorations in her basement. And she was moving and having to struggle with 17,000 square feet of Christmas decorations. Can you imagine?
yeah,
So she had the space for it. She had that much, but she was moving out of that space. Okay, she had the space. Just because you have the space doesn't mean you have to fill that space. So I would think differently and maybe put your priorities elsewhere, because really amassing and amassing and amassing and amassing, and in a world where climate change is right before our very eyes, you have to start thinking not only of yourself but of the impact of the planet, of your overconsumption. So that's another angle we haven't hit yet. And I'm not really qualified to speak about climate change or what's happening on the planet, but it seems wasteful to our resources to overconsume.
absolutely. So, question: how is spirituality? Would you say spirituality is connected to clutter?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Give me some example to that with that.
It's it's funny. I think it has. I'm trying to. I have a personal story about that, and I don't know if telling it will make a difference here, but I do think when there's less between, it's the energetic thing. When there's less between you and the world around you, then whatever when you say go with the flow,
Yes.
that's spirit. There's more serendipity in your life without anything to obstruct the flow that's natural there. What comes into that empty space you create is likely, and if you're clear on where you want to go and what you want to do, then you'll be able to accept what comes in or decline it very
Yeah.
deliberately if you allow it. So I think that's another thing to suspend disbelief about when you're cleaning clutter, the spiritual connection, and watch and see what happens. And
Beautiful.
it's really magical. I
Yeah.
say the subtitle of my book is "Create the Space for Miracles While You Free Yourself from too much stuff.
You absolutely say that, and I can't wait to get into this book. And so as we looked at it from a spiritual standpoint right now, as I look at what's happening around the world, and we are seeing more and more mental health issues arising, connected to like suicides and all of these things. How would you say like decluttering or clutter can help with one's mental health? Is there, talk about the connection with that?
I think cleaning your clutter drives you sane,
Mm-hmm.
and it drives you healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're sane and healthy, you're on the right track. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I do address in freeing yourself from clutter is your time management. So
Mm-hmm.
if you begin to identify how you want to be spending your time, and then you organize your schedule to be aligned with the outcomes you actually want to reach, that you're going to be accomplishing what you want. And if you accomplish what you want, you have a better self-confidence and self-esteem, and you're not likely to get as depressed. Or if what becomes clear is that you need the help of a doctor or a therapist or medication, then you should address that with the proper professionals. That's what I think. So I think it drives you healthy
Mm-hmm.
um, to clean clutter. I actually do. And again, suspend disbelief and in time management. Get out your calendar and say, okay, identify the area that you want to clean. Let's say you say I want to clean that dresser drawer where I've stuffed everything in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would schedule from 2 hours to 4 hours. I don't believe necessarily in the 15-minute here, 15-minute there approach.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it takes time. So you have to surrender that it's going to take time, and there's going to be competition for that time. Somebody's going to invite you to the movies. Somebody's going to invite you out for dinner. Somebody's going to have a much better idea for you other than cleaning your clutter. But
Right.
if you make a promise to yourself, you're going to do that between 2 and 4 on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and that's devoted to cleaning that dresser drawer that you stuffed your things into, and you begin to exercise the muscle of keeping your word to yourself. Watch and see what starts to happen. So get it in your schedule. Commit to times. Commit to the commitment, and follow through on it. And leave 2 to 4 hours at a time, because it does take time to clean your clutter, but you'll end up in the long run having more time to do what you want. It'll be less stressful. It'll actually flow. You can think ahead to whether something's going to work or not work, or there's going to be barriers in the way of getting what you want or not, and you'll be able to preempt solving them before you get there, so you have free passage when you do to keep moving.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, Michelle, we have about 15 minutes, and I definitely want to talk about this collaboration that we are going to do together.
Okay.
And that is with the decluttering after 55, or decluttering 55
plus.
55 plus.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Decluttering 55 plus. Like, what is it that you want the audience to know about that particular thing? Why? Well, we talked about 55 plus is just a number that you chose, but what would one benefit from being a part of these roundtable discussions that you actually lead around the world?
Yes, I'm in the infancy stages of doing them. I started out in Mexico, actually, in just recently, in the end of October. I started with a visit to an expat community in Mexico, about 3 hours outside of Mexico City, where a lot of people from the United States pack up everything and move with it, or they let go of everything before they go and they cross the border and they move to a retirement community in Mexico. And I went there to have lunch with a friend of mine who made a big difference for me when I started writing my first book. And I said, I'm going to write a book now on decluttering 55 plus, and I want to have lunch again. He said, oh yeah, come on down. So I went to Mexico to have lunch with him. And we did a couple of what I called roundtables. We sat around a table with about 6 people who had made the move all the way, the most extreme situation, to Mexico. And we discussed, well, what kind of clutter do you have? And all different things that I really wasn't even aware of people considering as clutter. Like this one woman said she dropped 250 pounds. That was her clutter. She was carrying all this weight and she dropped it. And one woman said her clutter was that she had given up the hope, wish, or want that she could ever have a relationship again at the age of 60. And that was her clutter, a belief that was no longer apropos to what she actually wanted in her life. So, and another guy said, I have come to the decision that the clutter that I have in the basement of the house that I left in Texas is going to stay that way. And it is not clutter. I'm going to get back to it in 6 months when I go back down to Austin, and I'm free now to go and have the adventures that I want while I'm here. So a lot of interesting things get when you take stuff that's in the back of your head and you start getting it out around the table in a discussion, things start to become unglued and open up for people, and in surprising ways, and in ways that even surprise me. So I'm starting to do these roundtables all over the Tampa Bay area in Florida where I live. I'm even doing one in Houston, Texas, and I'm looking to do them wherever people want to sit around a virtual or a real table to talk about how they can move ahead after 55 into a life that has health and vitality and contribution, and not become a downhill slide. So in collaboration with you, dear sister, we are going to conduct one of these roundtable discussions and invite free of charge people who are your listeners to come and join us for one of those experimental roundtable discussions and coaching. As we go, I will give you my 2 cents. That's what I say. It's my 2 cents. It's an educated 2 cents. It's an experienced 2 cents in the world of clutter. But I'm there learning just as much as you are to bring the conversation to the table. Have you done your will? Why haven't you done your will? Who's going to be in your will? Have you thought about your final arrangements? What is your time management? What do you want to fill your days with in your retirement years, or in your empty nest years, or in your new career years? Sometimes people take on a second career after 55, or they become widowed or divorced, or their circumstances might change. And it's a time, like I said, to refresh and hit the refresh and renew button. So I want to take those thoughts that are in your head and in your thoughts and bring it out to the table so that you can get in action with it, because action is the only thing that makes a difference.
Wait, say that part right there. We're going to make a note of that. Action is the only thing that makes the difference. And I have a quote that Mr. Hubbard says, production builds morale. So the more you produce, right, the more results you get in your life. Action is what makes a difference. We're moving into the 2020
spirits. It'll lift your spirits for sure to
absolutely
be out there being a productive human being. So we're going to do this roundtable together, sister, in January. It's a great way to kick off the year. On Thursday, January 12th, from 7:30 to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, we're inviting the first 10 people who want to participate to join us for that virtual roundtable. And if you're not in the first 10 people to register, we're going to take your name on a list and tell you when the next opportunity will be. But you'll be in the experimental infancy stages of a conversation that we heard versions around the country.
Absolutely.
And if you tell people how they can become a part of that, that would be really great.
Absolutely. I'm definitely going to do that. I just want to say to my listening audience, we have an excellent facilitator with Miss Michelle Passoff, who is an expert on freeing clutter. And going into the 2023, we don't want to go in not intentional.
Yes.
Right. You want to go into your 2023 being intentional. So we're not going to wait until we get to 2023 to be intentional. You start being intentional right now. If you know that you are 55 plus and you desire to put some order in your life, or should I say free yourself to go with the flow, and to get rid of some limiting beliefs that may be attached to your physical clutter, right? To get rid of some spiritual things that may be attached to your physical clutter, or better yet, as Michelle said, to create, to create more vitality, to create, maybe you want to get married, whatever it is, right? Maybe you want to get that big job and it's all attached to the clutter, where you have an opportunity, to be a part of what she's announcing as an experiment, but I'm saying a divine calling. Come on now. Because Michelle, I'm not 55. However, you showed up in my life after coming from a spiritual retreat, and where I literally was saying, okay, I need to put some things in order. And a part of it is I'm going to declutter my drawers because I like sticks. Okay, let me put this here and I'll go back and get it, and don't go back and get it. And you showed up in my life to help me with this, and I'm just grateful for it. So with that being said, I want to offer this to my listening audience. We're going to take the first 10 people. You're going to get expert coaching, which is going to create transformation, right? And guess what? There's no charge for this, right? It's just coming together, 10 people coming together, and let's create miracles, okay? Look, miracles by definition mean creating something to wonder at, right? So you want to create some new wonders in your life. You want to be able to create something where you know that you got and your ability to create, release, and let go to create more room for yourself, more room for your future. So we're offering that. Michelle, it has been absolutely phenomenal. I cannot wait to see the type of miracles that we're going to create together. I would like for you to close out with closing comments, whatever you want the listening audience to know.
Yeah, I want to be sure that people know how they can let it be known that they will participate in January 12th. That's a Thursday night, 7:30 to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And if they email you, they'll be able to indicate their interest, and the first 10 people will be in. Then we'll have the others who are not in the first batch will set up another time and invite you to come and join us for that conversation. But and we look forward to it, and it'll be transformational, informational, and otherwise a pleasure to have your input.
Absolutely. And I see a question coming up here. Do you have to be over 55?
Yes, for this particular conversation, yes. And we fully acknowledge that, if there's enough of a demand for another kind of coaching session for people under 55, that we may do that. But right now, because my research is on the 55 plus, please, if you're going to put yourself on that list, encourage somebody else who is over 55. Unfortunately, it's that particular audience.
Beautiful. So good. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask everyone that desire to be a part of this, male and female. Am I correct, Michelle?
Yes. Oh, but definitely, please. Yes.
Okay. Male and female to email us at repairoftheblackfamily@gmail.com. repairoftheblackfamily@gmail.com. You also can text us. Text the word declutter to 727-623-5555. Text 727-623-5555. Text the word declutter. Now, this is open to anyone around the world. I know I got people that listen to me anywhere around the world. It doesn't matter. This is going to be virtual. Next Thursday, January 12th. We definitely want you to be a part.
Is it next Thursday or the Thursday after?
I'm sorry, Thursday after, January 12th. Okay. We definitely want you to be a part. Again, let's free ourselves. Let's be able to go with the flow. 2023, Michelle, look, I'm creating miracles in my life, and I want to help some other people create miracles. And we thank you for offering your expertise to see what type of miracles we are going to create. And we'll come back and do a testimonial.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Happy New Year to everybody.
And Happy New Year. And so with that being said, family, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. with another Heal on Purpose podcast, where we strive to eradicate generational trauma, dramas, limiting beliefs, and self-sabotaging behavior patterns. We are closing out 2022 with releasing, letting go, and letting God. What you got to be the one to let go so that God can be let in. So with that being said, I'm truly excited for the upcoming 2023 calendar that the Repair of the Black Family we're offering. I am having a coaching session every second Saturday of the month. If you desire to be up close and personal with Sister Naira on a virtual coaching call, transformational virtual call, please go to my website, sign up for the coaching session. We definitely have the retreats coming up. Yay! And before I go, I want to put my guest book up. Before we put that up, let's put my guest book up. Lighten Up, Free Yourself from Clutter, Create the Space for Miracles by Freeing Yourself from Too Much Stuff. You can get this book directly from Amazon. I highly suggest. I have the book. I'm going to deep dive into this book because as I'm getting my coaching, I want to make my own personal notes. So if you are one that's ready to lighten up, let it go, think I got to let it go, then you definitely want to go to Amazon and get this book. In addition to that, we have the retreats coming up. And we are going to Belize, Central America, March 17th through the 23rd. Transformational Life Coaching with Sister Naira and Brother David. Ignition, unleashing your passion, your power to discover more purpose, healing on purpose. We're already registering people for this beautiful transformational retreat. We definitely want you to make sure that you don't pass yourself by. You can do and have what you desire. Never stop yourself because you don't have the money. You can create money, right? And we're going to start creating money by decluttering. All right. So yes, your money is tied to your clutter. So so you definitely want to make sure that you are part of the ignition. And then guess what? We are going to Egypt. The return to the motherland. All right. So that is June 2nd through June 8th. And of course, we are already full blast registering that as well. You can learn more about these two powerful retreats at retreatswithsisternaira.com. Go ahead and tap in with me and be a part of this excellent transformational life coaching retreats. Travel with the Purpose with Sister Naira and Brother David. These retreats are open up for men and women, married or single families. Okay, so it's not just limited to women, men and women, single, married, children. As long as your children can travel with the purpose, they can come as well. Okay. So we definitely are looking forward to servicing you 2023. We have so many different things coming up. And if you have not gotten your CMOS, it's time to go to that website. We also have some herbs. We have a lot of different things to help us just to be holistically beautiful. Okay. So with that being said, I want to thank you all so very much. And I want to leave you with this quote that my guest said tonight. Action is the only thing that makes a difference. That is from Michelle Passoff. Action is the only thing that makes a difference. So it's not what you know, it's what you're doing. With that, thank you all so very much for tuning in with Sister Naira. Heal on Purpose. 2023 is going to be your best year ever because you said so and you're doing so. Thank you so much. Peace.